What's up, friendos? Reformed Stoic here. I'm not really sure how this camera angle is going to turn out, but for some reason I had trouble getting this topic out when I was sitting up looking at the camera. So we're just going to try it like this for now. If the camera angle's cringe, then I'll just edit in some stock footage or something. Basically, guys, I'm not going to dance around it. This message might not be received well right now by the chuds. I know that people are kind of not in the best place. There's a lot of sorrow in the world. There's a lot of loneliness. There's a lot of guys who haven't found their place. A lot of people are resentful of society. And I feel that. And I'm pretty much right there with you to an extent. It's just that I've been doing a lot of introspection lately and trying to grow, and I've come to a realization that an old teaching, something that maybe comes off as kind of like a new agey teaching, it's definitely an oversimplification of the truth, but the truth nonetheless, that people either resonate on fear or love. I made kind of a cringe poem on my first channel, like way back in like 2019. Something about how I didn't like the dichotomy of fear and love. I liked fear and strength. But that was cringe. It's definitely fear and love. They already had it right. And it starts with an understanding of love, a proper understanding of biblical love. It's I'd say in layman's terms, for the way that we understand language today as Western people, it's basically like just being nice, being friendly, being kind, being positive, putting positivity out into the world. It's not a romantic love, but I definitely believe that if you can get to a point where all you're putting out is love, that's going to put you in the best position to come across whoever you're meant to come across to be your partner romantically. It's scary, guys. I don't know if this is really the time for me to try to lay this all out in a video, but I guess I'll give it a shot. It's not that complex. It's not so much that it's complex. It's more that just, I don't know if people want to hear it. But you kind of circle around to a point where you see that a lot of things in the world, as far as like teaching material, it's trying to teach you how to hate somebody. Some particular group of people, some particular ideology. That's definitely how politics is. And the idea, guys, is that it's all just misleading. And it's evil. And I don't know how many people know what they're doing. I think it's just the spirit of the world that is ultimately in line with evil that teaches people how to hate, that teaches people how to be cruel. And people do it out of fear. I think a great example is a guy trying to learn how to be an asshole to do better with women out of fear of being alone, out of a fear for failing with women. And I think if you search inside yourself, you can see that that's true. You know, if you weren't afraid, if you had just an easygoing, fun, and loving way about yourself, where you weren't afraid, more or less you didn't care, I think the right kind of indifference is very in tune with not being afraid. And when you give off this positive energy and everything you put out is positive and you're kind and you treat people well from a lack of fear, that is vibrating on love. And it's just kindness, I guess you could say, loving kindness. And just I think I had it inside of me when I was young. There was definitely some flaws of my nature. It definitely started to kind of grow into jester maxing, but I wouldn't write myself off as a jester maxer entirely. It's just that I experienced a lot of negativity in my childhood, bad upbringing, yada yada, a little bit of getting bullied at school. And what started off as just a pure, unfiltered, fun, loving, kindness nature, where I was just good to people. I liked to make people laugh. I like to have fun. A lot of people gravitated towards me. It started off as that. And it just, I needed to grow in that. I needed to make adjustments. I needed to not gesture max and be more confident and just more than anything, just be a little bit less, be a little bit refined. When you come across somebody who's wicked or a narcissist, resonating in fear, and, observing narcissists and how they resonate in fear, they're afraid of the attention that you give off. They don't give off the loving energy like you do. And it makes them afraid and they get defensive, so they attack you. Because they're too afraid, they're resonating from fear. They can't just love and let go and be happy for someone else. And the way you express your love when you're around someone who's doing better than you is, hey, good for that guy. I'm just going to do the best I can, and you have an abundance mindset, and it's all good, and there's plenty, and you'll find yours, man. And ultimately, guys, that's all that it was ever supposed to be, and maybe you were similar to me when you were a kid. You just like to run around and play and pretend to be a Dragon Ball Z character, and oh my gosh, Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, video games, soda, chips, cartoons, every day is the best day ever. I think unconsciously that's why I go back to nostalgia so much, because I had it. I was on the right track. I was inherently a good, fun-loving person who radiated on love. And, in spite of the problems I had, the rough upbringing, awkward with women, short, getting rejected, I never should have given up my fun, loving, just loving nature. And what happened is that you start absorbing the wisdom of the world that starts to poison the way that you are. And then you develop fear, is what happens. Fear grows inside of you from failure and a lack of wisdom, and the love that inherently exists in you grows cold and is replaced by fear. And that's when you start trying to do this tough guy shtick. That's when you try to play this cool act with women. Like, oh, sorry, I don't want to have a girlfriend. I'm just trying to hook up and trying to impress people. It's all out of fear, guys. You want to impress people because you are afraid that you are going to be seen as weak, that you are going to fail, that you are going to be alone. And unfortunately, I definitely think that, I don't entirely blame myself, I definitely played my part, and this is where I observe, the Chosen Ones. I'm a pretty big fan of the Chosen Ones, and I think it's been confusing because I made some videos against them. But then I'm always constantly playing Terry Joel Jr. on my stream. I think Terry Joel Jr. just tends to be the safest bet for me. Sometimes I'll find a different Chosen One that I think I like more, but then they start saying something weird out of nowhere. Like Justice, out of nowhere, said he rejects Christianity, and he said, oh, I'm not going to let anybody stop me from being who I am, not even God. It's like, oh my gosh, dude, you just scored the high score for cringe. And I watched one of his latest live streams, and he's just being so cocky, and he's just this, like, I don't know. I don't want to say, let's just say wankster. I don't want to say the more crude version of it. He's like this cocky wankster who just has this cult following and goes on and on and on about how spiritually awake he is, and then he does some cringe laugh at priests, and I think he's very misguided. What's that guy, King Jabez, today? He just said something about we have our 4 sacred liquids, and one of them is urine. And wow, man, the chosen ones will really just say something really far left field out of nowhere, and I'll just completely be taken aback and like, wow, these guys are kind of cringe. But I think a lot of times you can see how they're resonating from fear. I think that's the point that I'm trying to make. You know, they're taking a lot of shots in the dark, and it seems like they're right like 70% of the time, but then they start getting caught up in something. And okay, the main mistake that they're making, the point that I was trying to make about the Chosen Ones, if you're not familiar, just search Chosen Ones on YouTube and you'll find all kinds of people tapping into whatever this movement is that I have very mixed feelings about. You know, I feel like I resonate with it, but I also feel like there's something very misled about it, especially in terms of theology. I'm still a Roman Catholic. I still, you know, I don't say things like, oh, don't go to church and Christians are misled. And if you want to learn the real truth, you got to watch some chosen one who's not trained in theology. No, I'd say stick with good theology. But anyway, it's taking me a while to get to the point here on the chosen ones. They don't take responsibility for anything. You know, it's always that like you were surrounded by narcissists and you didn't do anything wrong. I think the real chosen ones story, that if anything, these people are just, I think a lot of them know this and sometimes they'll allude to it, but maybe they just forgot, or they get too caught up in feeling themselves and they start getting cocky and arrogant. And it could even be a spiritual thing, man, where these guys are getting swept up by demons. And I really see it in Justice lately. You know, in spite of his tattoos and his piercings and his whole little wankster shtick, I thought he had some amazing videos, man, but he really seems to be caught up in some ego pride issues. And he was saying that all sin starts with envy. That's actually bad theology. The correct theology is that all sin starts with pride, okay? It takes pride to think that you know better than God and to think that you know better than God's word. And that's the problem that so many chosen ones have, is pride. You can't admit your mistakes. The real chosen one scenario is that you had love inside you. You resonated on love when you were a child. I can't speak for everyone, okay? I had it when I was a kid. I was big smiles, fun-loving energy. I liked to memorize stuff from movies. My family took a trip to Mexico when I was like 7 years old, and I memorized a bunch of Jim Carrey stuff from Liar Liar and became obsessed with Jim Carrey. And I had love inside of me when I was a kid. And yeah, you know, everybody's going to experience a little bit of bullying here and there, but overall, people liked me. A lot of people gravitated towards me, and the kind of people who bullied me resonated on fear and sucked and were chuds and were lonely and insecure, and I didn't see it back then because I didn't have wisdom. The real chosen one scenario is that you were poisoned by people who wanted to attack your light, okay? The chosen ones say people want to attack your light. People are intimidated by your light. They're intimidated by you. They can't be like you. Yes, 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 yes. But what happened is that their attacks got to you and they poisoned you, and you started to resonate on fear, and you made a lot of mistakes, and there's a really good chance that you pushed everybody away, okay? I definitely pushed everybody away. Now, I got mixed feelings about it because I feel like a lot of the people that I pushed away were the narcissists. And ultimately, it's just this confusing scenario where it's like, yeah, I want these people to acknowledge that, like, I'm not a terrible person, but, you know, I didn't end things the right way, okay? I lashed out, and I told a bunch of people to fuck off. I said some nasty things on my Facebook. I started just kind of being, like, a combination of an asshole and a cringe lord on Facebook and airing out all these weird... I've always been weird on Facebook, okay? I just kind of feel like I have this weird desire to tell people controversial things that I think, and there's been times when people liked me on Facebook. There's been times when I had an audience of people saying, man, you just always say that thing that I really want to hear, and I'm loving your Facebook statuses lately. I've had times when I had like a little cult following on Facebook, which you could almost say is kind of like a early incarnation of the kind of stuff I talk about on this channel. Clearly, I'm somebody who wants to have my thoughts heard, but I've talked about it a lot. When I moved to Vegas, I was in a bad spot. Things didn't work out in Boston, and I'd had some drama before on Facebook, like when I had the clash with this rapper here who's like, Year Island, Bells Flats. I was born and raised in Kodiak. I was like, dude, this guy sucks, and I'm a real rapper, and why don't you guys support my rap? And that didn't go over very well. And that was in like 2012, 2013. But 2014, 2015, I really started getting into it with people in Kodiak, and people caught on, and they formed a mob against me, and I got canceled pretty hard. And the point is that I pretty much brought that on myself, okay? I think, because what I'm tempted to say is that it's confusing. It's like, I don't know, on one hand, all these people are narcissists, and like some of the worst people I've met, and the group mentality in my hometown was absolutely terrible, and it's the best that these people are out of my life. But I think the responsible thing to do is to accept responsibility, okay? The proper thing to do would be to take the Sam Hyde advice, is that yes, these people were toxic, but you don't write them a big letter about how they're toxic, because what they're going to do is screenshot it and post it on Facebook and be like, wow, look how unhinged this guy is. I mean, that's pretty much exactly what happened to me. It happened through Facebook, but I had got into some confrontations, like one-on-one with people, and they got a bunch of other people involved because I cut them really deep, man. And it wasn't right the way I cut them deep, and I was headed down a really bad path, man. I was getting into the occult. I was messing with black magic. To this day, I have people that say, oh, dude, you're actually fucked. Like, there's no way that you can come back from that. And I disagree, okay? It's never too late to change the road you're on. The first example that always comes to mind is, like, really creepy, and I'm always, like, hesitant to hash it out. But, unless you, like, physically joined some sort of weird secret society occult group where you like sacrificed children and stuff, you know what I mean? That's pretty much the example that I'm talking about. Like, if you haven't done that, I think you can like turn around, because I have this instinct that tells me the way that you join whatever elite cabal that there is that you do something unspeakable like that. And it's kind of this, I feel like inherently somehow I understand that's how you make a pact with Lucifer. Like, that's how you basically sell your soul to the devil, is you do something terrible. And ultimately, I haven't done anything like that. I messed with some black magic alone in my home. It was bad. It's bad that I had that kind of negativity in me. It's terrible that I tried to use magic to hurt people, or screw up their lives. That's bad. And I've always felt bad about it, and I've done everything I can to repent. And ultimately, life goes on, and I feel like life will go on and has gone on. I feel like I've already, my life is kind of manifested as a punishment. And personally, I feel like I'm getting right with God. I'm at least in the process of getting right with God. And the signs, you guys, are circling me back to when I was a kid. And then, of course, I think of what Christ said, you must have the mind of a child to get into heaven. And, apart from the things that I've learned, developing as a man, developing in wisdom, I had something when I was a kid that was superior to how I've been for most of my 20s. And I'd say that I had that in me pretty much until I started drinking and smoking weed and partying. And, it's like, oh, dude, lame. Like, what are you, my grandma telling me not to smoke weed and not to drink? And, really, I do preach not to do drugs here, okay? I'm clean. I don't necessarily think it was because I smoked weed and got drunk that I gave into fear and lost my loving nature. That's just the way everything worked out, okay? It's the same time that I joined the party crowd. I've already made a video about partying, about how it's basically like a pagan ceremony. It's like a pagan, worldly way of life, okay? The pagan way of being is very instinctual. It's giving into your base root nature, and there's like this system of natural law, but it's not guided by reason. It's all guided by base urges. Whoever has the most sex wins. Whoever can beat everybody up the hardest wins. And the direction things are now, guys, is first and foremost faith in Jesus Christ. I'm personally a Catholic. I would just say be a Christian personally. Stay away from Mormonism and Jehovah's Witnesses and cults. Basically some sort of Protestant or some sort of traditional Catholic or Orthodox. Okay, that's what I recommend. Just be a Christian. Don't be like super far out there and deny the Trinity and that kind of weird stuff. Just be a Christian. Okay, but what I do have to say is that when you're a Christian who's really leaning on like judging people and telling people they're going to hell, you do, like, the idea is that you want to help people, man. You want to do it out of love, and you want people to get saved. That's where it has to come from, okay? When you're like, when you're doing this, you're actually in mortal sin, and you haven't confessed, and you're going to burn in hell. The point is, guys, is you can resonate on fear and be a Christian. I don't want to idolize the resonating on fear versus resonating on love, but that's actually a very powerful concept. And I mean, I heard that, the first time I ever heard that was in Bill Hicks' stand-up, and he actually mocks Christianity, and it's definitely something that can be in line with like new agey occult thinking. But what I said at the beginning of this video is that's like an oversimplification, or it's not even an oversimplification. It's real. It's just that, what does it mean? You need to have it explained to you. And the goal in my life, guys, is to just have nothing to give but love. Just nothing but love, okay? If somebody is in my path who I'm not capable of loving, like they're a narcissist and they want to hurt me and they want to ruin me, you just get away from those people, okay? When someone is trying to be your enemy, you just ignore them, you just get away from them, and then, a la Goku, in the fashion of Goku, he doesn't really want to fight anybody, but sometimes he has to, and he's Goku, and he's a badass. So, I train and I be the best I can be, and ultimately, I don't want to hurt anybody, man. Like, I am trying to vibrate on love and peace, and okay, vibrate, that's cringe. That's what I'm trying to do, guys, and I've tried to do this before, is I take this gem that's pretty up there in terms of, like, the meaning of life and how to live, and kind of, like, take it down to earth, because this is something that's fully compatible with the Bible. I already had a video explaining it. I think it wasn't labeled properly, and I've really tried to push that 3-video playlist. I'll go ahead and post it in the description again, but I need to kind of like recycle the knowledge from those videos and put it into one video and try to do a better job marketing it, because it just seems like people weren't really interested. But you know what? I mean, kind of in general on this topic, like, people just really want me to cling to complaining, and I've already been there and done that, and I'm to a place where I want to elevate, guys. And what I see in the world in terms of being woke is that, the devil, evil, wicked people, it's too easy for them to just kill everybody, for them to just kill you. They don't want to just kill you or hurt you. They want to turn you into a fearful, wicked person. They want to change you, man. They want to do what the Joker did to Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight. And it's not hard. And I see that in so many things in society. The pop culture, from movies. You look at, like, Judd Apatow, Seth Rogen kind of movies. Like, that whole dude bro party culture is teaching you to kind of, like, shit on people, to, like, disrespect people and throw people under the bus. I've seen all kinds of different PUA advice, and they're telling you to be the cool, lame dude bro guy. And I've specifically heard one time in a piece of PUA advice that you should throw other guys under the bus in front of women in a nonchalant way. You know, like you should try to like one up guys in front of women and throw people under the bus. And it's all out of fear, you guys. And the idea is that you are not afraid to love. And remember, in layman's terms, the biblical love, because I grew up rolling my eyes when I hear love, okay? My mom comes from like very liberal Catholics, and when she talks about the Bible, she always reduces everything down to love. And the direction that I'm heading is like, she's kind of almost right. It's just, she goes about it in a really cringe way where it's not just that she's not explaining, like she doesn't really know the full truth, okay? I'm sorry, Mom. You just don't have it all figured out. You have that arrogant smile and tone in your voice like you have everything figured out. But a lot of things can be reduced to just, you need to be full of love. You have to have nothing to give but love, my friends. It means when people are cruel to you, when the unevolved version of yourself would respond back with cruelty and nastiness, you just get away from those situations, man. You don't have to be around people. By all means, like, there's nothing godly about sitting there and letting somebody berate you and treat you like garbage. I think that when you're very deep and resonating on love, you won't even really care, and you might try to stay around that person to try to help them somehow. But overall, guys, you're not obligated to be around negativity. So remove yourself from negative people, remove yourself from negativity, and just, this is the goal. The goal is to just be good to everybody and just be a good person. And then you think about your pew, like, oh, dude, you're a simp and you're lame and women aren't going to respect you. No, dude, you can be in shape. You can work out. You can be tough. You don't have to be a beta. You don't have to make a big, excited soy face and like get all, oh my gosh, I can't believe you like that show on Netflix. Wah! Like, that's not love, bro. There's people like that who I think resonate on love, but you can express your love in a way that doesn't put yourself down, okay? Ultimately, trying to pick out that kind of soy quality, that beta quality, that comes from fear, okay? You've heard people explain the soy face when people have the big open mouth. Like, they're trying to kind of belittle themselves. They're afraid unconsciously to try to look good in the picture. You don't want to be like making a serious face like you're trying to look like some sexy Calvin Klein model because you're insecure and you don't think you're worthy of that. So you belittle yourself by for the picture, you know, and then, you know, there are women out there who do gravitate toward men who treat people like garbage or whatever, or put on this cool dude bro belittling, but you just are above it. Those are women of the world, ladies of the night. You're looking for your soulmate. It's biblical. You need to be with one woman that you are married to, and that's just the way it is, man. The goal is that you accept things the way they are, and all you have to offer is love and kindness, and you treat people well. And, you know, it's like, it doesn't mean that you can never swear. It doesn't mean that you can't, like, watch violent television or whatever. Okay, you don't have to be, like, a square. But the most important thing is treating people well. Okay, it might get to a point where you just keep ascending up this ladder until you become a freaking monk or a priest. And then you don't swear. And then you try to be somebody, I mean, maybe you're somebody who wants to, like, be a good example for children. Ultimately, guys, I'm not crazy about swearing and violence and, like, watching horrible things on television. You know what I mean? But I'm getting a little bit distracted here. Above everything, guys, if you swear a little bit, if you smoke cigarettes, if you have a drink every now and then, if you like South Park and Family Guy, just be good to people. Just be positive to be around. The problem that I'm seeing with the manosphere is that you're on a never-ending red-pilled rage rant. When you meet somebody you've never met before, it's like, hey man, have you heard about women hitting the wall? Oh dude, you can't even date anymore. Like, you really want to explain to people that dating is over and that women only go for Chad. It's like, it doesn't even mean that that stuff isn't based in reality, guys. It's just that people really do want to be around positive people. People really do want to be around people who vibrate on love. Okay, when I say vibrate, I don't mean like literal vibrations. Just, you know what I mean? Just, you want to be around people who offer love, who offer positivity. And I think I know that the goal for me is to just be that way. And the problem I'm running into is that I've been hit with a very vicious smear campaign in my town, and there's people out there who's like, oh my gosh, he's dangerous, and he needs to be locked up, and for having a YouTube channel, and because he swore, and because he yelled a couple of times in clips from 3 years ago. So I'm to a point where it's like, my goal is to have nothing to offer but love to people, and I have nobody around to love. So it starts with just being positive and always rejoicing. I'm still trying to tackle the no fap, man, and you know, all I can say with that is I just keep trying to make improvements. You know, this month I had a 3-day streak, and then at a different time I had a 2-day streak, and then I had a day here and a day there, 1-day streaks. It was better than last month. Overall, I can make an argument that I did better this month than I did last month. And I'm just going to keep trying to ascend up that chain until there's nothing left but to let it go, man. And every time I fail, like today I failed, I didn't yesterday and then I did today, I just, I kind of feel like crap a little bit. It doesn't necessarily ruin my day, but I see that there's nowhere left to go with it, and I see that it's just something that I need to leave behind, and I see that it's a problem, and I see it's a flaw, and everything I'm saying in this video, guys, is in tune with the truth. I'm sorry if you're not ready to see it, okay? I'm not saying that this is gonna happen, but maybe somebody in the comments like, no, dude, like, men treat people like garbage, and as a man you have to do this and you have to bark at people, and it's like, in my opinion, bro, you're not ready and you're wrong and you're living in worldly ways, okay? This isn't really related to like truth about politics, okay? It's like, well, what about if this person rules the world, or this group rules the world, or, well, Democrats are wrong, or blah 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 blah. Like, I'm not even really talking about any of that right now, okay? It doesn't matter. And I think I've gotten that stuff pretty well figured out, okay? Hit me up on a live stream. We can discuss those kind of things. I think I've got that stuff pretty well figured out. But if you're being nasty to people, if you're focusing on negativity, if you're going on negative rants, if you're berating someone, if you're giving off negative vibes, if you're bringing down the mood in a room, you're just really, like, doing bad things, guys. And it's gotten to a point for me. I'm sorry this has been a little bit rambly. We're tying it up. This is the final thought here. It's gotten to a point for me where it's so unbelievably obvious why red pill people and manosphere people and MGTOW people just absolutely repel women and just fucking repel everybody, dude. Because you're focusing on negativity. Because you're hurt, you're hurting, you're ultimately vibrating on fear, because you want to keep, like, feeding off of this dopamine, off of going off of these red pill rants, because you're justifying it to yourself. Like, yeah, I'm doomed to be alone because statistically that's what's going to happen to me. Statistically, I'm doomed to be alone. Statistically, all the women are going for this small percentage of men. And you want to keep having this rant, and you want to keep telling people, because that's a scary reality. It's a scary reality that you're going to end up alone, and that you're never going to have anybody to love, bro. And the proper way to handle anything, irregardless of whatever the reality of that situation is you are just full of love, man. And, you take it one person at a time. And I think probably the best advice I've got when it comes to women is, don't be needy, okay? When you talk to a woman and it's obvious that you want something from them, that's a problem. And that advice is so difficult for men to fathom because you do want something from them. You are trying to figure out how to get them into bed. And ultimately, that needs to stop. You are a person who's full of love, which means, oh my gosh, Family Guy. I'm going to get cozy with my cats and watch Family Guy. And, you know, Brent Smith lifestyle, if you can check this guy out, this is really where this advice came from. And I do think, even though, you know, ultimately he's just kind of some PUA guy, I wouldn't really, like, look to him for a super deep understanding of everything about the world. I wouldn't really consider him a philosopher. But it's funny how it all does kind of go back to him for me, because he says, you don't pursue women, women pursue you. It's really creepy when you want things from women. You're the kind of guy who, when you're sitting at home on a Friday night, you're not missing anything. Oh man, I'm going to crack open a bottle of champagne and throw on season 8 of Friends on DVD or see what's on Netflix. And like, you are content being with you. And that's the first step, okay? If you don't have anybody around to love, then just, you are going to need to spend time alone. You are going to have that isolation season that all these chosen ones talk about. Like, it starts with radiating the love by yourself. And you're just excited about doing your thing, man. Oh my gosh, you know, today I'm going to work out and play drums and watch some TV and read, go for a walk and listen to music and just every little thing. Oh my gosh, I love this song. I love this band. Wow, it's so great just playing this music. It reminds me of Damone in Fast Times at Ridgemount High. He's like, when he's explaining to his beta friend how to do well with women, it's like, every place that you go is the best place to be. Man, isn't this great? Like, it's so funny how both that movie and I'm always talking about Fast Times at Ridgemount High and Dazed and Confused, because they just really nail it. Like, they really do give the proper advice for how to deal with women. You don't care if she comes, stays, lays, or prays. Whatever happens, your toes are still tapping. That's the abundance mindset. That's the numbers game. And then in Dazed and Confused, when he's just like, "Hey man, you like that older girl, right? You can't let her know how much you like her, because she'll leave you like that." See, like, if she asks you if you need a ride to the party, you say something like, "Nah, I'm good, but maybe I'll see you later." Sounds stupid, right? Chicks love that. Dude, they're so spot on with the advice in those movies. And, you know, I get mocked. It's like, oh, yeah, let's all get advice from Reformed Stoic about women. I've had my problems, guys. I can tell you that really to different extents, when I started smoking weed and drinking, 17, to when I lost literally all my friends in my mid-20s online, I am right now starting the process of all I have to offer is love. If people don't want to be around me, that's fine. If people want to get in my space and be negative, I will remove them from my space, or I will remove myself from that space, okay? I'm like Goku. I reserve all aggression unless absolutely 100% unavoidable. You just be good to people, man. And I've spent 40 minutes trying to explain it. This is actually good advice. You know, I've spent time lately trying to, like, make videos that get views. I can tell, like, what kind of topics people want to see for that. You know, either hashing out my black pill experiences or something related to manosphere, red pill, MGTOW kind of stuff, okay? And yeah, I still have stuff to say about that, and that is a real phenomenon, but you have to not be afraid, you guys. It's either fear or love. Oh no, I'm gonna be alone. There's not enough. I'm destined to die alone. And you're in this kind of like weird, it's just like this weird trauma play where like you can't, like, you are upset. You're upset by what's happening. You know, I'm trying to think of the right words to explain this. You're traumatized. Okay? All of this stuff, all of these red pills, like, oh my gosh, women are only going for Chad. All the dating apps point women straight towards Chad. I don't have enough. I'm going to be alone. I'm hopeless. It's got you in the state of fear. And the way that you cope with it is by going on this never-ending monologue, taking part in red-pilled discussions, consuming red-pilled content, and, you know, maybe like once a week, set a limit for yourself, pick a couple of guys that you like, you know, every now and then I'll watch Better Bachelor, even though he kind of goes on the same rant over and over again. Maybe stay up to date on red-pilled news, you know, what's the percentage at these days, how many women are lashing out on Reddit, but you just want to focus on what's positive. Do you like that women only go for Chad? Do you like that you're destined to be alone? No, that's negative. What do you like? Focus on that. Talk about that. When you're meeting people for the first time, when you're in social situations, when you're around family or people that you're catching up with, talk about things that you like. Talk about what you enjoy doing. Now, for me, for a long time, I've enjoyed reading books about things that kind of allude to like kind of negative stuff, like, you know, the elite, Freemasons, and the Trilateral Commission, Anglo-American establishment, what have you. Overall, guys, learning about the force that rules the world is kind of negative. And I need to try to steer it to more like, oh, you know, I like studying philosophy and natural law, Aristotle, theology, Thomas Aquinas, because all of that is true as well. So it's a great thing to be an intellectual, and it is good to know a little bit about, a lot about what's up with the world and why things have ended up the way they are. Basically, guys, you need to start taking accountability, man. The red pill will drive everybody out of your life, and I think on some level you realize that. I don't think it's that hard to explain. You're being negative. When you're black-pilled, you're being negative. It's just negative. It doesn't matter whether or not it's true. All kinds of horrible things are true, man. I imagine, like, intelligent entities like angels and saints and God and, like, the kind of intelligence that they have where they can see everything that's happening in the world, and there's so many horrible, unspeakable things happening in the world, man. So, and yeah, it's all true. Like, so you have this knowledge of things that are true, and then you focus on the negative. But you can't do anything about it. The best thing that you can do, like, the best thing that you can do is be full of love. And when you come across people who have been hurt, you know, things related to the horrible truth of the world, like people who have been sex trafficked, or people who have been abused, or people who have suffered trauma, people who have been victimized by narcissists, you're full of love, and you can help uplift these people, and you can help yourself, and you can attract good people into your life by doing the things that you want to do and being positive. And the idea is that eventually you come across a high-level woman, and, you know, whoever you're meant to be with, you find who you're meant to be with. It's a sin to fornicate, you guys. It's you're trying to compete with the Chads and trying to rack up a huge body count. That's going to lead you to hell, man. That's the reality. That's what I believe. So take it or leave it, guys. You know, I hope you take it. This is definitely where I'm at. I would definitely go head-to-head with anybody on this. This is where it's all led for me, man. And we'll see, like, because, you know, it's awkward to say things like I want my videos to get a lot of views, and it would be nice if I could figure out how to, like, make money off of this channel. And I do think that there's ways to monetize this knowledge, and it's common, and it's like sometimes my videos, it will have an uncommon topic, and then I just kind of go on a rant on it, and then, you know, it kind of sorts itself out because the topic of the video itself is pretty unique. But then this is like something very common, resonating on love versus fear, but then having like a valuable explanation of it. Because this is it, you guys. You don't want to be scared and afraid And what you do out of that fear is you lead people astray. You convince people to follow you. Oh man, trust me, bro. Women are this and women are that, and people are negative, and yeah, bro. And then you lead people in the direction you're going. It's just, you're misleading people. You're hurting people. You're hurting yourself. If you get high level, if you have a channel on YouTube and you're resonating on fear, then you're doing something really bad, man, and you're doing a disservice to people. And when you're resonating on love and you have a channel, it's like, hey man, okay, yeah, like it is kind of like that, but those women are wrong. Those women are wrong, and you don't want to be with them anyway, and you're only supposed to be with one woman anyway. So the reality is that maybe 80% of the women out there, you don't want to marry them. And that's just the reality no matter what. So be cool, be positive, be a good person to be around, do the things that you want to do, get in shape, like if you don't like working really hard, like figure out how you're going to stay afloat. And, ideally, guys, we should all try to figure out like a way to make money that isn't like slavery, like that's the goal for me. And just do you, be positive, give love. Once you're healed and you've spent enough time alone, you can slowly creep back out into the world. And it's just a matter of like, if you talk to somebody at the gym, don't be like, oh my gosh, I hate small talk and normies or blah, 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 blah. Just figure out how to say something positive, bro. Figure out how to be funny again, how to be fun loving again. And then people can learn from you, man. And people can say like, hey, you know what? Like that guy's not an idiot, but he's not focusing on negativity. And it's what I have to do, you guys. I have to figure out how to steer this ship in a positive direction. It's not a cope. No FBI agent called me and told me to say this. And by the way, you guys, the crap that's been happening in my life, if anybody cares, I don't think it's the FBI. Just so you know. I don't think it's the FBI. I have a few competing theories about what's been happening, but I think it's some sort of a revenge for hire service. I've seen testimonies of people who, could be full of shit, but it sounds very real to me, talking about how this kind of domestic espionage works. They say they're people that work within arm's reach of intelligence. They're like contractors. They're bad guys, okay? They're bad guys. The stuff that's been happening to me is being done to me by bad guys. And I don't think that it's the FBI or the Department of Homeland Security, okay? I think what these bad guys do sometimes is document the times they've pissed me off and send that shit to the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security and try to turn them against me. But anyway, I guess that would probably be a topic for a different video. It's just that I'm full of love, man. And it's going to take a long time for people to see that, because I have a very bad reputation right now. I mean, it depends who you ask. It depends what sphere you're looking at. But I need to start getting a positive momentum going, guys. And it's for real. Like, I see that this is basically real enlightenment. Being a good person. Always being rejoicing. Loving. Being a Christian. Yes, Jesus is the highest truth, but how do you handle that? How do you handle the message? Because what Jesus did teach is being kind to people and loving people, even going as far as loving your enemy. And it's the reality, man. And I'm to a point where I want to be around positive people too. And when I see a Buddhist or a Hindu or somebody smiling and being nice and bowing their head and being polite, they're setting such a better example than a Christian who yells at people and is foaming from the mouth, talking about how they're a wretched sinner who's going to burn in hell. And the Bible doesn't teach you to be that way. People are inclined to believe someone who is filled with love. It all points at love. In conclusion, my friends, your only two choices love versus fear, it's real. And all of us have very likely heard something about that from some crappy, like, self-help crap forever ago. But it is real. And hopefully I've done a decent job explaining it in 50 minutes. Wow. God bless you, my friends. I will see you next time. Reformed Stoic out.